The countdown? Okay.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
episode of the Offroad Podcast is sponsored by Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve.
Offroad Podcast, episode 391, Sno Camp Recap.
Tonight, Aaron gets hit on, Jeremy sleeps in the cold, and Ben flies off the handle.
Welcome to the Offroad... Wait. Welcome to the Offroad Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, Jeremy, and my name is Ben, and welcome to the show. How's it going tonight there, Aaron?
Not too bad. Had a fairly easy day at work today.
Me too. Didn't have work today.
Well, I probably didn't do much more than you did while I was at work.
Nice.
I got to the job site at 7 o'clock this morning, and there was supposed to be another company there to do a bunch of work before we could start our work, and that company didn't show up till 11 o'clock. And while they were doing their work, we got called to another job, but I had to stay and watch the guy because he was down in the vault. So I stayed till 2 o'clock, basically, and went to the other job for 1 hour. So I did an hour's worth of work. Besides watching a guy, I did an hour's worth of work.
I did do more work than you did today, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of work in a day.
No, it's not.
Nope, it's not.
And by
But I got paid.
Did you have to like actively watch him, or you were?
I had to actively watch him. So
so you were like a site supervisor for the morning day.
Well, they call it an observer because he was down in a vault, and you have to monitor the CO2, and oxygen levels and things like that while he's down there. You got to make sure he hasn't passed out. He's hooked up to a crank that you can crank him up if he does pass out.
OSHA stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But that's not off-road related.
No,
it's not. Not at all.
Not.
You just asked me how my day was, so I was telling you how my day was.
Well, how's it going? What's new?
Well, I mentioned that I had my uncle's truck for sale.
Yeah.
And I sold it. So that's really good. Sold
Did you
quick.
get what you wanted?
Yes, I did. I got what I wanted, and sold quick. That means I don't have to deal with flakes and people and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's all taken care of. We did negotiate that I kept the bed slide, and so I thought we'd keep the bed slide and use on my wife's truck, but she doesn't want it, so I've got that for sale now. So once that sells, I will have gotten what I wanted out of the truck.
So, yeah, you've heard me talk to you about that bed slide and her. It's like I almost want to tell you just throw it in anyways and be like, I'm not selling it.
Well, the problem is that it bolts in through the bed, so I got to drill the holes in the bed. And the way it was mounted in my uncle's, the way it was mounted in my uncle's truck was with nut zerts. Although I'm really kind of disappointed. Whoever installed it used like grade 3 bolts for this thing. They're like the cheapest bolts.
That might be the bolts that are in it because it's so heavy. It doesn't move around very much.
Well, it's supposed to hold 1,000 pounds. And like when I had it slid all the way out, because it goes out 70%, and I climb up on the back of it, like that whole thing is flexing.
Oh,
for my 250 pounds or whatever that's on it. So that just makes me nervous. I mean, you probably wouldn't snap those bolts with 1,000 pounds back there, but it's only held on with 4 bolts.
Oh, it only had 4?
Whatever.
I thought it was supposed to have 6.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that it didn't have the last 2, because the last 2 would be all the way at the rear of the bed, and
those are the important ones.
They would be difficult to get to with the slide in there. I think you'd have to take the slide all the way out somehow to get to them. So
no, you do the slide halfway out. You just have someone hold it for you, or you use a piece of wood. I've installed a couple of them.
Yeah,
and those are the important bolts. Or that's why it flexed on you. Because those
No. So not the ones at the very back towards the back of the cab. The ones at the tailgate. The ones at the
the
tailgate.
tailgate ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those ones you do have
So.
to put it all the way, slide it all the way open.
Yeah. Well, but it doesn't open all the way. This is a 70%, not 100%. So it'd be difficult to get to them unless you took the bed slide off of the frame.
Oh, you can. What did I do? I had to do that once, and I did. I stacked some blocks on it, and I just lifted it up. So I got the other bolts where I wanted them. I put them in, and it was marked, and then I just lifted it up and drilled the holes, and then I used a ratchet to tighten them down.
Well, it was pretty easy to. Thankfully, they did use the nut zerts, and so that made it really easy. So, besides selling my uncle's truck, so now that he said I could have half of the sale, so that's going to pay for the garage doors on my shop. So that's how this is off-road related. Getting some shop doors. So I've reached out to a couple people. School started back up, so I've got homework, although my homework load isn't as awful as it was last year. And also, while I was sitting in a parking lot on Friday while my daughter was climbing into the car, someone crashed into my Toyota Avalon. So that was sweet.
Yeesh.
That's absolutely beautiful. How bad?
Yeah. It wasn't bad at all. So basically, I was backed into a parking spot and she whipped into the passenger side available spot next to me. Yeah, there it is. So creased the fender, creased a little bit of the door. The door rubs on the fender right now. So just dealing with insurance to get it taken care of. So
gotta love parking lots.
See how, yeah. And like she came in hot. This girl was, I am a very fast driver. I'm be the first to admit that, but I don't know if I've ever whipped into a parking spot. Well, except for that time I drove myself to the hospital. Other than that, I've never whipped into a parking spot so fast as this girl did. And I saw her come and like, I didn't even have time to open my mouth, but my brain said she's going to hit me. And then crunch, crunch, crunch as she ran down the side of my car. So,
and
she got out.
Yeah. Is that the side your daughter got in on?
Thankfully, no, she had climbed in through the through the driver's side. And she was buckling into the passenger side rear of the car. So she was sitting on that side of the car when she got hit. So
scary.
Eric says to put just a Tisba scratch sticker on it and send it.
I didn't damage it this time. I wasn't there. So
it wasn't poor spotting on Ben's part. But
how do you know he could have been in her passenger seat?
He wasn't. But yeah. No, I want her insurance company to pay to fix my car. So I don't want to drive around in a piece of junk. So yeah, so her insurance company is going to just have to pay to fix my car. If it was my Nissan, I would take the check, put the sticker on it, and away I go. Buy some gears or something. Actually, it probably wouldn't be enough to buy gears, but anyways.
Yeah.
It might be.
Jeremy, check your mic.
Again?
In your settings.
While Jeremy checks his mic, Ben, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I did not go snow camping. I bailed out a couple days beforehand. I just wasn't feeling it. I'm on some new medication, so I don't know. That's part of my problem, and I've got a lot going on in the home life, so it was kind of just I bought some new lights for my 4Runner. There was a deal on some Amazon Baja look-alike knockoffs for like $7. Nothing. Nope. Weird. And then let's see. Today I picked up a Via Air 100P for like $60 off of a buddy. He used it on his 4Runner and he runs like 35s. But I wanted something to have on hand in case I don't want to drag around my power tank or, just to keep in on the daily. in case I need air compressor. So, yeah. And then I went out to the Forerunner on Saturday, and I've got video of just what it was like. Well, I thought I had a handle on things.
It looks like clearly you do have a handle. It's just not on things. It's in your hand.
Yeah. So, I talked about that piece of the door handle popping off in Montana, and that actually retains the door handle. If you look, nothing is actually broken on that door handle. It clicks into place. So it turns out replacing those handles are really easy. Like all I have to do is pop up and undo one little screw to pull off that piece. So I'm actually going to replace my door handles. I found some black ones. So instead of having Raptor line ones, I can have some black ones. So I'm
Nice.
probably going to do that when I Raptor line it next because I'm changing up the color. And that will probably be my first project in the garage. So, but yeah, things are just getting out of hand with the Forerunner. It's falling apart. So much stuff to do apparently, and I don't know what it is.
It's falling apart like Jeremy's microphone.
Yeah, apparently. He leaves for a weekend and all of a sudden his stuff stops working. Nope, still can't hear you, buddy.
Oh my goodness.
But Jeremy doesn't have much to report until the main topic. So,
let's hope he can get his voice back by the main topic.
Yeah, he might have to use his laptop mic. Worst case scenario.
Or he's got a headphone mic also.
Yep, he does.
We might have. Yeah. We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
And let us not forget that our patches. Oh wait, I guess we should show the abdominal one. What did you just do? Magic, Aaron?
Boom, magic. Yeah, become abdominal. Wait, no, not abdominal. That's your stomach. Abominable. Look at that. Just like overlaid it right over top. Boom. Pretty good.
Yep.
And it's gone.
It's like magic.
They also just dropped 4 new patches today.
Did they really?
Yeah. Something about not being a FUD. I think a couple of them were about not being a FUD.
Not a Fed.
No, FUD. FUDD. FUD.
Yeah, but they also have the not a Fed one too.
Yes, they do have the not a Fed one. Yeah.
So, let's see. A change my mind one.
Yeah, that's right. What's that guy's name? Crowder or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's a guy sitting at a folding table in full gear.
Hold on, I'm grabbing the pictures.
They're coming. They're coming, folks.
They're coming. Just like Jeremy's mic is coming along. It'll be coming around.
Well, while Ben does that, I'll mention that we also have patches for sale. I'm sure you've heard us mention this every week for the past 6 months. They're $13 shipped for one and $10 for any additional patch. Or $10 if you see us in person and we happen to have some on us that will sell you in person. So just send us a message through any of our channels, or shoot us some cash through PayPal using offroadpodcast@gmail.com as the address to send the money to.
Oh, I forgot to mention one thing, Aaron, from the main topic. I have a garage update. No, Jeremy's still not working. The county is being nice and fun, and they want me to dig up my septic tank. I have a septic tank, and get it drained and inspected for this imaginary drain field, because it's just if the other one fails. So I have to get my septic tank inspected and all that, which is so fun and frustrating. But I got to play foreman when we were digging it up, because I had to dig up one of them, and I had some child labor. Help for my son. So yeah, I made him dig the hole. It was fun. I did do some work, but he did most of the work. He's 10. He can suck it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have kids, right?
Josh said septic is so much fun and has his patches shipped yet.
No.
Fudge.
I swear they will be out in the morning.
Josh, apparently we're just keeping your money.
Yep.
It's all a scam. It's all a scam. We tell
It's
people
all
that
a
we've got
big
patches
scam.
for sale. That's why Jeremy doesn't have patches.
Yep.
It's a scam. We only had 2 printed, one for Ben and one for me, and we just tell everybody that we have patches. And
Josh's patches.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mark says call it chores for tax purposes. You having your kid digging for you, Ben.
Chores. All right.
Did I fix it yet?
Yes, you did.
Oh, thank God. Am I way too loud now?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
All right. Just so you can see it, the yellow one says since Josh patches. Okay.
Sorry,
That's a
Josh.
burner phone. It doesn't mean anything.
What'd you say?
Oh,
I said it's a burner phone.
Yeah, it is a burner phone.
We're hoping that Ben's new medication will take care of his ADHD.
Yes. Unfortunately, right now I'm on a really low dose and I have noticed nothing. But the doctor said so. He said that's exactly how it's going to be. So I'm like, So
there you go. There's one of their new patches.
Ain't no thug if you can't take a slug.
So that's a picture of a plate carrier with 4 bullets hitting it.
It says Thug Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we got the decked out Crowder with it looks like a scar. And I changed my mind sign.
Yeah, you're supposed to write your name there.
And then
the astronaut meme.
Yep. So, yep.
What kind of gun was he holding there? Is that a 1911? Is the Space Force using 1911s?
Yes, they are.
Look at that. Huh. Well, at least he's got good trigger discipline.
Yep. I kind of want that one, and I want to put it's all flat.
Yeah. Josh says to just keep the patches till this summer, and that'll force you to meet up with him when he comes out here from the East Coast.
Well,
it doesn't work because he'll still bail on you because he had to bring me patches.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, Jeremy.
Josh, I'll up the ante on you. I'll send you your patches, and if you meet up with me this summer, I'll hook you up with another patch.
Find maybe some sort of other patch to get him.
You could grab one off my headliner.
Ooh, any patch?
Not any patch.
Does he have a safe space patch?
That one's not on there. It's on the front door.
Can you put it on your headline?
Speaking of patches, one of the other podcasts on the network posted a picture of some of the patches they got at SHOT Show, and Jake from Patriot Patch commented that someone ripped off one of his patches.
Really?
Yep.
Which patch?
We the People. This one right here.
Really?
So super similar to this. The difference is that they used all the same colors, but they use like an American flag texture background, and one of the 4 stars in the corners is missing. So
Oh, I wonder what
Yep.
company that was. That's dirty.
He said it in the post, but I don't remember. It was actually printed on the patch, the name of the company. So
That's
yeah,
dirty.
like same font, same colors, everything. So
Dirty, dirty, dirty.
dirty.
Have tire
Jeremy,
troubles
do you have
ever left
anything?
you deflated?
Jeremy, do you have anything to talk about for this week other than the main topic? Oh, shoot.
I'm just messing with you. No, I don't have anything to talk
Thank
about.
goodness.
All right.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
Mark says he still has some unopened swag from SHOT Show 2017 and that you should always bring an extra suitcase. When I went last year, I brought the biggest suitcase that I had and expecting to bring home swag, and it came home packed. So
should we be expecting that for SEMA?
probably I would expect that there'd probably be swag at SEMA.
All right. Well then, yep.
But keep in mind, I don't know in 2017 if you had to pay for an additional bag, but now you have to pay by the bag, depending on the airline. So,
well, I've got a suitcase that's like the perfect size for airline stuff. It's not carry-on, so
yeah. Well, I always do a backpack and then a suitcase. I'll pay the $35, so I don't have to.
Because
Carry
I mean,
all my
worst
clothes
case
on my
scenario,
back.
I'll throw away some clothes. Oh no, it's not all fitting. Throw away some clothes, or just ship it home.
Yeah. All right. Well, our first news article is from Jalopnik, the one that we did our news topic on last week that had lots of discrepancies. But it is titled "The U.S. Forest Service to Test Ford F-150 Lightnings." So that's kind of an exciting thing because it's like what we do. They're out in the forest doing forest things, and it's an electric vehicle. So it says that the Forest Service has picked up 3 F-150 Lightnings for field testing. They're going to be used as an EV audit for the service to determine if the trucks can meet the rough demands of the group in green. I guess they're talking about the paint scheme. They are simple and standard fleet spec F-150 Lightnings. So they don't have a lot of extra stuff going on. They aren't extended range. They don't have fancy suspension. Pretty basic. And they did not specify how long the duration of the study is, just that it'll last a while. It says determining a vehicle's suitability through all seasons and through the vehicle's own life cycle of wear and abuse. It will take more than a quick test drive, is what they told them. So
I like how they're not saying, okay, here's a week's worth of testing and calling it good. It sounds like they want to have a whole year's testing.
Yeah.
And depending upon where they're testing them at, I mean, winter conditions, we saw the problems with people in their Teslas and stuff when we had that big cold snap and people couldn't charge their cars because they'd plug it in and it was too cold for the battery to charge.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, if that is an issue with EVs, then don't give electric trucks to the Forest Service in Alaska and in northern Montana and stuff like that. But put them anywhere else. But I still think it's important for them to test and find out. But
Oh yeah.
I guess my thing is range. I mean, they've got a lot of range. When you go off road, you get less range. Where do they charge? So they're going to need charging stations at the Forest Service offices. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Do Forest Service people drive their trucks home and leave from their house to their job? If
I
that's the
think
case, do they need to charging at their houses?
the ranger stations, and they have ranger housing. So some of the rangers don't live close to where they're posted. So they live on where they're based out of. So like if you go to
Yeah.
Yellowstone, the rangers there live there. Forest Service, I know there's some Forest Service housing around me because I'm close to Snoqualmie National Forest, and there's some closer to it. Mine's near like White River. So I think it just depends upon where they're living.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious how they turn out. I'm excited because it'll put them through the paces. So
Yeah.
that's important. So, anyways, our next article is from Autoblog, and it is titled "The Toyota Land Cruiser Will Likely Return to the U.S." So, Motor Trend asked Jack Hollis, who is the EVP of Sales in Toyota North America, about the chances of the Land Cruiser coming back, and he said, "Will it ever? I would say likely yes. Have I seen designs, thoughts, and hopes? Yes, but nothing to announce. It's still a ways off." So, and then also in January at the the Lexus LX 600 media drive, a Toyota spokesperson told CarBuzz, "Don't be so quick to rule out the Land Cruiser. We obviously haven't made any announcements yet, but we are listening strongly to customer feedback." So that's two different times Toyota has said that they're considering bringing it back. Do you guys know why they stopped selling the Land Cruiser?
They weren't selling and how expensive they were, right? Because
Yeah,
wasn't like a base Land Cruiser $80,000 or $90,000?
they're expensive. I mean, they come with a whole lot. I'm sure it's a vehicle that you can't add a lot of options to when it has a base price that high. But they're very expensive, and they're expensive because they're built really robust. The engines are great engines. The suspensions are great suspensions. The chassis is great. There's a lot of great stuff to them.
Well, and they're, at least from my experience, the Land Cruisers usually like a generation ahead of the other vehicles for technology. Like the tow the one where it locks like a brake to turn, the brake turning thing that they just added on the Broncos. Like Toyota had that in like the 200 series or early 300 series. I think that's what they call is the current series.
Yeah.
And I saw that like 2008, 2009. And it's like, okay, now 10 years later, other vehicles are starting to do that. I feel like that's their up ahead futuristic model that has lots of good stuff that you see later on the future as a common thing. And so it's stuff that costs a lot more. What do you expect, right?
Yep. So the article goes on to say that the people who wrote the article say it's not clear how Toyota could bring any modern Land Cruiser without running into the issues that got the 200 series run out of the country. So it says current overlanding trends withstanding, hardly any full-size SUV owners take their SUVs as far off-road as the Land Cruisers are built to go. With upper mid-size competition like the Kia Telluride, it's fully loaded and it's $59,000 just completely loaded. Same with the Ford Explorer Timberline, which is kind of the little bit off-roady version of that. The 200 series base price was $87,000, which basically put it the same price as the Lexus LXs. And It also goes on to say that there's 3 full-size GMC SUVs that compete with it too, and it's just so expensive, it prices itself out of the market that it's plopped into. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've also got what, the Sequoia, which is very similar in size. It's a third row SUV, full size SUV, very similar to the Tundra. It's just the Land Cruiser's like an extra exotic version, I guess. I don't know how to say it.
I think the 3 of those shared the same chassis. I thought the 200 series and the Tundra and the Sequoia shared the same chassis. I don't know enough about that to say that 100%,
I
but I
don't.
thought there was some sharing going on there. So
I know the Sequoia and the Tundra shared stuff, but I don't know about the
Yeah.
Land Cruiser.
Motor Trend said that it sounds like we should be looking beyond the current J300 series to what the next generation model might look like, which would almost certainly need to be electrified, either hybrid or full battery electric. I can't imagine an entirely electric Land Cruiser. And the last thing they say is that the MSRP of the base Land Cruiser puts it at the top end of the Jeep Wrangler and the Ford Bronco, and that's the base Land Cruiser is competing with the most expensive Broncos and Jeeps. So
Well, and they have
that's just tough.
well, and they have the what is it? It would be closer to the Jeep Wagoneer, and that's $100,000.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that is
for sure.
full luxury. I think that's a
Yep.
better comparison between the two. They should be comparing the Wagoneer to the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, but the Wagoneer isn't off-roady.
It isn't is it engineered to be able to go off road?
I think that it can go off-road, but I don't think it's off-roady. That's like saying a Tahoe, a brand new Tahoe can go off-road, or an Escalade can go
Yeah,
off-road.
true enough. I mean, they can.
So
You just gotta be willing to push them.
Yeah, exactly. Eric says bring back the FJ instead. I doubt I doubt the FJ will ever come back, unless maybe it's.
I can see an electrified version, kind of like Jeep's doing with the Recon. It's going to be an off-road mid-size SUV. I think that's, if they bring back the FJ, it's going to be an electric mid-size SUV. And then
I don't think they could bring the FJ back as what it was, because it competes too much with the 4Runner, and that's the darling of the Toyota SUVs is the 4Runner. Everybody loves it. All those soccer mommies just love their 4Runners.
Yep, those soccer mommies love them, and then people like me buy them and abuse them.
I think yours was abused before, so
yeah. Considering those welds I found, I'm gonna get some people for it.
And the paint job. I mean, that should have been your first clue.
Yeah, full on camouflage. Yeah, probably.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, this week, Aaron and I don't have much to talk about for this main topic because we bailed. But Jeremy, it's been what, a year since you've been out?
Like at all, or camping?
Camping and wheeling?
It has been a while.
Like a wheeling camping trip?
Yeah, it has probably been about that long. It's been a while.
You officially did something, buddy. Now you get to talk about it.
Yeah, well, there's not a ton to talk about, but we'll run through it.
All right.
Well, why don't we run through what you didn't do?
Go to your secret spot.
Yeah, the original stuff. Yeah.
So we tried a new area. This was out on Highway 12 over White's Pass from us. It was definitely might be a new area for us for this trip.
How did you get to where you were going? Did you come just south right off of Highway 12 and work your way up the mountain to get there?
Pretty much. So I mean, we met up in Morton at the same coffee shop we always meet up at. So there's a bonus. We can still do the same coffee shop.
There you go.
At least people coming from up north. Aaron, it's probably out of your way, but
No, it's on. Oh, I guess if he were to take a different way to get there, but if he comes up I-5,
I would pass through Morton also. Yeah, it would be I-5 to Highway 12 for me also.
well then perfect.
Yeah.
So we headed out that way. It was kind of interesting because I took my brother-in-law with me on this trip. He was my
Interesting
co-pilot for this one. What was that?
I said that is interesting.
And it was interesting to because so he has a Jeep, he has a JL Rubicon, but he hasn't done much off-roading in it, and so it was kind of fun because we're talking through some things, and every time I kind of have a conversation with or take a newer off-roader, it's really cool to see things through their eyes again because like for instance, like the first thing we pull off the road, we air down, we start going up the ridge line, and it's one of those really narrow shelfy roads. And I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he kind of turned to me and said, "Are you not nervous about this road?" I'm like, like a little bit, but not too bad. And it just that it reminded me of that feeling of when you're first doing any sort of off-roading especially on the shelf roads, and you're looking down like 200 feet down if you were to go off the shelf road. Like that's a nerve-wracking thing for if you're not used to kind of driving in those conditions. And so it was kind of fun to kind of see that again. And
were they narrow shelf roads? Or
oh
were
yeah, they were narrow shelf roads.
like a car wide or 2 car wide?
Maybe a car and a half.
Car and a half? And that's not too bad.
You would have been able to squeeze 2 cars by. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, but when you couple that it's very steep and there's packed down snow, so it could technically be icy. The conditions are actually really good for going up the road, but it, and also what you kind of learn when you've been doing snow wheeling for a while is you realize just how much the snow that hasn't been driven on the side of the mountain will actually stop you from sliding. And so there's kind of that factor of safety built in that of if you've experienced it, but if you haven't experienced it, it's super intimidating to be driving up those shelf roads with all the snow on them. Just as long as you don't use a Bubba rope on those.
Yes,
that's when you see things go sideways. Anyway, so we get up the shelf roads. The snow condition was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the best snow, but it was also not the worst we've ever been in.
So was it wet, heavy stuff, or kind of like in the middle, like older?
It was kind of older, a little bit of iciness. I'd say moderately heavy, like right in the middle. It wasn't mashed potatoes for the most part.
So it wasn't sticking to you too bad?
No, and it wasn't like just completely moving out of the way when you tried to drive through it if you're trying to press snow. So we ended up getting up to the top, and then it was really nice. The area was really nice because there was just a lot of flat ground on top of this plateau. And so we were able to just kind of go around. Yeah, we did air down. Anyway, and so there was a lot of nice track that you could go and do. We were following what looked like a tracked vehicle for a while. It was like a full-size tracked vehicle. And then there was also what looked like maybe an ATV tracked vehicle. We ended up getting stuck right when the tracked vehicle tracks ended. That's kind of where we started breaking. Things weren't packed down, and we were just breaking through and having a hard time. The Jeep got a little warm. I think it was the power steering. At this point, we were kind of working it a little hard. I was trying to get around Rick to see if I could make any better progress. And all of a sudden, I dumped a little bit of ATF fluid. It was weird because it was like all of a sudden I backed up after being stuck, and there was like a fairly, not like a huge puddle, like a puddle of ATF fluid, but it was probably like, I don't know, like 6 inches by 2.5, 3 inches worth of snow. It was clear that it was ATF fluid. And so I run ATF in both my transmission and my power steering. So we were trying to diagnose it. There was a little bit of smoke coming from the front radiator. And so what I think my best guess is that just working the snow, aired down, working the wheel back and forth, turning the tires. I just overheated my my power steering fluid and just burped a little bit of the fluid out. Because after that, didn't see any drips.
Whose Nissan were you pulling to overheat it?
Nobody's Nissan this time.
So, would it be a possibility that it might have leaked out your RAM?
I don't think so, because we looked and I've leaked out of my RAM before, and you can typically see where it's been dripping from. Okay. It was a little wet up near my power steering pump, and so I'm wondering if I somehow burped it out of a line up there. You know, it kind of looked a little wet on one of the, I think the return. I can't remember if it was return line or supply line.
Yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on those hoses in the future, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is just go ahead and because I kind of had this problem on the last snow trip. It only comes up in the snow, and I think it's because it's working extra hard trying to turn the big tires with the extra snow pushing on it. And so I think I need to just put a cooler in, or maybe go and buy the PSC kit, but maybe I'll try the cooler first and see if that fixes the problem.
The cooler's probably 1/10 the cost.
Yes.
Do you have a fan on there, like an electric fan?
I mean, on my vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or is it?
It's belt driven.
It's belt driven. It might be worth adding like a pusher fan on the other side too. I know some guys do that, especially for their power steering, to help keep it cool with the big tires, because you're not moving.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Because I bet you the adding the cooler and a fan is still a quarter of the cost of a PSC kit.
Yeah. So the people that were on the trip, Eric's got a question. He sees Rick's rig. Who else made it? So it was just Rick, Dave, my brother-in-law CJ, and I. It was actually Dave's birthday.
I thought your brother-in-law had a JL.
He does, but he was my passenger.
He didn't want to drive?
You had a CJ for a passenger in your JK.
Who owns an LJ?
And we had a JK, a JL, and an LJ. Yeah, and we had a CJ. Just not
a CJ. Yeah, there we go.
I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that on the trip, because we made it. Dave made a comment about we were driving generationally.
Yeah,
I didn't pick. Nobody picked up that CJ was there too.
It's because you didn't have Aaron's humor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's my humor too. I think that's why we're
like
probably friends.
The terrible jokes makes us friends.
I'm looking at. Doesn't look like you're aired down all that much. Did you guys air down a lot more once you got to the deeper snow?
Well, that's one of the problems I've had with my Pats is, like, even so I was at 10. I could have aired down further.
Yeah, you got bead locks.
I know. I could have aired down more, although that wouldn't have helped my steering heating up any.
No.
No.
It actually would have made that a little worse. But I didn't really see the need for airing down until after we had overheated. And then at that point, it was kind of getting a little bit late in the day, and we didn't think we were going to be able to make much more progress. So we just kind of made camp where we were, which was one of the really nice things about where we were going, is there are tons of campsites as opposed to
Nice.
on our normal snow trip where it's like, well, there's a campsite 10 miles back, or there's a campsite 5 miles ahead that we probably won't get to. I see Rick.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming this is Rick. I've never seen him air down so low.
He goes down to about 10, or in this case 12 or 13 or 11.
Yeah, 11.
He's
to
all over the
13,
board.
Yeah, he is. He's a
Is
loose
there a
cannon.
method to his madness? Do we think he
Probably.
So for those who are just listening to the podcast, there's a photo on the screen of Rick's dash, and it's passenger front is 12, his passenger rear is 12, his driver front is 13, and his driver rear is 11.
Rick is a man of thought, and I bet you he's like, my gas tank's on this side, so I want a little more traction in the rear.
Yeah. And he's got no passengers on the passenger side, so that's why it's a little bit lower than, and he's sitting up front in the driver's seat, so that's why his driver front is a little more PSI.
Yeah.
He's going to get a little bit more squish out of that tire, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we pretty much made camp from there. And it was a gorgeous campsite. We could see pretty much all across. We could see across the valley.
Look at those amazing mountains behind you in this picture.
Yeah, amazing mountains.
So the picture that's on the screen is actually from the next morning. So when we were coming in, we had amazing weather. It was just sunny and clear, and you could see all the way across the valley over Highway 12, and you could see into Yakima, and it was gorgeous. The next morning we woke up and it was pretty much the same view. You could see everything except for you could see a cloud bank starting to roll through, and we were able to just kind of watch that cloud bank roll through, which was really cool until we get to this point, which is where we're making breakfast, and it looks like we're looking through soup. It got really cloudy. Yeah.
That same thing happened when I was camping up there for the first time, and it was just awesome looking. You're above those clouds, and they're just like fluffy. It's like fluffy ice cream or something. I don't even know how to describe it, but super cool looking
until they hit you, and then you just can't see anything. I mean, there were points where we couldn't see like 40 yards. It seemed like,
wow,
it got thick.
So I'm curious. I'm looking at you guys parked, like Dave and you are decently close, and Rick's pretty far away. Did he not want to hear you guys snore?
I think it was bean night. They they had baked beans for part of their dinner.
Yep,
something like that. We made Rick sleep over there. I don't know. Rick just chose that spot, but I mean, it was a gorgeous spot. He had some really good photos of when he woke up. Yep, that one right there. Just the sunrise in his spot was amazing.
He wanted the Instagram pictures to make it look like he was solo.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah,
he wanted to be hardcore.
He's hardcore.
Well, the temperature wasn't so bad when we got up there. It definitely started to drop later on. I don't remember what that photo was. I think we poured extra cooking oil. So for dinner that night, we did something I haven't ever done while camping before. We actually did that's breakfast, but I don't think we have any pictures of dinner. We did some frying, some fried foods. So we made some chicken wings for an appetizer, and then we had some fish and chips for dinner.
How'd they fry up?
It was amazing. It
was good.
Did you use like a tin, or did you use a bowl?
Nah, I just used a bowl. What are you talking about?
Like your cast iron bowl, or did you use
we just used my my normal I can't think of the name. Jet oil 2-person stove. or two
one in the
two
photo?
burner stove. The one you can see the pot in that photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really dirty because we had one incident. You can actually see in that photo there is now firewood underneath the table, the legs of the table.
Okay.
That's because when we were heating up the oil, we had almost a mishap, and the table sunk and spilled some hot oil. Thankfully, nobody was injured or close to being injured. Both Rick and we both kind of grabbed for the table and then had better second thoughts and went, just let's see what happens. And then it settled out and we were able to fix it. So thankfully nobody got burned with hot oil because that would have been made for a terrible trip.
That would have made for a terrible trip, but I mean, at least you had Rick there.
He's a firefighter.
Firefighter Rick.
He was an EMT portion of it too.
Yeah.
Well, he would have given you mouth to mouth.
Yep. He didn't anyways.
No, he saves that for Aaron.
Yeah.
And we had lots of booze that night for sure. We had lots of bourbons.
And good choice of bourbons, it looks like too.
Yeah. Dave actually brought out this it was a praline something bourbon, almond praline bourbon or something like that. It was amazing. It was a little bit sweet. So if you mixed it with some other bourbon, it was absolutely divine.
You had to cut the bourbon with some bourbon.
Yeah.
Cut the bourbon with some bourbon to make it tame it down a little bit.
Well, tame the sweetness down a little bit.
Yeah.
We didn't have dessert because Ben was supposed to bring dessert.
It wouldn't be the first time he lets you down.
No.
With dessert.
No, it was alcohol I let everyone down with.
Yeah. Tequila specifically.
Almond flavored tequila. That tastes like
and
soap.
Ben is no longer allowed to bring the tequila.
Nope. So that's when it started getting pretty cold, was after we were making dinner. And it was definitely colder than any of our other snow trips that we've done in past years. It got down to 19. Ooh. We think it was getting to the point where while I was cooking dinner, there was ice forming on the top of the batter because I mixed the batter up and then let it sit for a while, and it was icing over. Everything was freezing to the cutting board. You pretty much had to wear gloves if you were handling, especially if you're handling anything. Otherwise your hands started to get really not numb, that painful feeling when they're too cold. So we were all a little underprepared for that level of cold. I mean, we could have kept going, but we didn't really bring enough firewood and there wasn't a ton to gather.
Hold up.
So Aaron should have been there.
What?
Yep. Aaron didn't show up, so you had not enough firewood.
Yeah. So we actually ended up leaving the next day. We just made it a quick overnighter, just because we weren't. What was that, Aaron?
You didn't stay 2 nights.
We didn't stay 2 nights. No.
Did you go to a different spot, or did you call the trip?
We ended the trip early.
So it's weird how, so you mentioned is like 19 or so. When I camped there, it was in late January and early February, because I've camped there twice, and same thing. It was down into the teens at night, and it's weird how much colder teens are than the mid 20s. Yeah. A 10 to 15 degree difference makes it feels so much colder.
Yes.
I wonder if, I'm sure you guys are higher than we were at our other spots, right? Were you higher up? And
they're higher up.
Tree coverage.
Well, but that's only a thing if it's windy.
Yeah. The winds weren't kicking up too much. And-
but the air is moving a little freer, so it's gonna keep it cooler.
Yeah. The other thing that was pretty surprising is when we got to the ground with our fire pit, because our we were probably how high over the fire were we, or over the ground were we when the fire pit finally burned down? It was probably like 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet. You think
Last
of packed snow?
year,
Yeah.
last year,
Uh,
I would say 2 feet.
Okay. It was like a foot.
Hmm.
It was there was way less snow than we ever would have thought.
Gotcha.
And that was packed snow in both
Yeah.
cases.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a foot of powder. Just
Yeah. So, any guess on how close you did get? How high in elevation or anything?
I don't know off the top of my head. We were not very close to our destination.
I'm gonna screen share map here, Google Maps. So this heart right here is your destination.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you guys entered down here off of Highway 12 because that's really the only
Yes.
place to enter, unless you entered all the way from over here, which is kind of not the thing. So let me zoom.
What do you mean
in
not
here? I mean it'd be weird to go all the way past this entrance and enter from the far side. That's all I'm saying. That's all a guy's saying.
Yep.
So if you got up on the ridge, you're somewhere between here and here. This is 5,500 feet, just over 5,500 feet. And this is 3,000 feet here. So, you're definitely higher.
I think we were at about 3,500 feet because Rick said, I didn't know, he didn't say exactly how high in elevation we were, but he said we had like another 2,000 feet of climbing to do.
So here is 3,600 feet right here. So it doesn't look like you made it that far once you got up there.
Yeah. It might have been, I don't know exactly where it was on the map, but I thought we made it past one of the turn off. Oh yeah, there is that turn off there. So we made it past that branch turn off, and
this one here.
I don't think that one. There's another one.
There was one back a little more.
There's a little one right here, but that
end.
I mean, I don't know where it went.
Yeah. You just saw a turn off.
Right.
Okay. What was the difficulty with the snow? I didn't totally understand. Was it just too slick? If it wasn't too deep, was it too slick, or?
It was where it was packed down. It was just moving out of the way on all the uphills. So it was fine to drive in if you were going downhill or pretty flat. But there were some significant areas where it goes. There were some areas where it goes quite a bit steeper than the rest of the terrain, which would have been doable. We just would have been working at it a long time to go a little bit of, only a little bit of distance. If there had been like a tree that you could winch off of in order to get up that uphill, then that might have been, and then it was, flat from there, it would have made it more doable. But I mean, climbing an extra 2,000 feet is not insignificant, to say the least.
No, it's definitely not. I think once you get past the very quickly ascending uphill, it doesn't level out, but it's a lot easier to go the rest of the way. It's like, I think the first half of that road is a lot of elevation, and then after that, the second half is very little elevation gain. So yeah, well, we definitely need to go back, and you can totally go there and play in the summer as well.
It would be it would be gorgeous to go there in the summer too. But yeah, on our way, so the next morning we just got up and kind of took it easy and made breakfast lazily. I think we had breakfast around like 10 o'clock or something like that. Pretty late. And then on our way out, we did try to go out the other way, which was the way that you were, go out the long way.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we found was a little interesting is you're just sitting on top of this plateau and there's no markers to tell you where the road is. But the roadway is a little bit better than not driving in the roadway as far as like getting stuck.
Oh yeah.
And so you're just like looking at a map, like, I think this is the roadway. And then all of a sudden you go over a bump and you're like, yep, that's not the road. I think it's, let's try a little bit over here. So we're doing that for a while and getting stuck a little bit along the way. And then I started to smell a little bit of hotness again. So we actually just ended up turning around and going back out the way we knew we could get out because we weren't sure that the gate would be unlocked at the other end.
Yeah, going out a way you haven't been isn't helpful if you don't know what the road's like.
Yeah, and with the vehicle, part of the decision was I didn't want to make them have to pull me out because that would have been pretty difficult to try to pull me out that whole distance. So I just wanted to make sure we could get out, or at least we were moving in a direction where towards getting out that we knew would actually be available.
Yeah. The second night that I camped out in that area, I learned the importance of having, like when you're camping on snow, to have some sort of thermal break between you and the snow, because I had just the worst night of sleep. And when I got up the next morning, the snow that was underneath me had melted and thawed and it was a sheet of ice, and you could see that it was clear ice underneath where my body was. So my body warmed the snow enough to melt it to turn it into ice.
Yeah, I wasn't
it
messing
was
with
rough.
that. I was on a cot with a cot pad. Thanks, Coy, for that tip on the cot pads.
Yeah. The cot pads. Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you guys chose to go to that location because I think I suggested it a couple years ago and we ended up not going, but I'm glad you guys got to see it.
Well, now we since we made it to your secret spot location, now we have a new location. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go try to get to the next one.
I wonder, I thought about this while you guys are up there. I'm like, if they make it to the lookout, it was unlocked when I was there. They could just sleep in it. And then I thought, well, then you have to listen to somebody snoring in a giant wooden box. So that's not fun.
What are you talking about? Ben wasn't there.
Well, I'm sure more people than Ben snore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I heard Rick can really light it up too.
That's probably
especially
why
when
so
alcohol's involved. That
Oh yeah,
makes people snore more.
Yeah. It is a bummer that you didn't make it to the lookout, because you talked about being able to see back to Yakima. When you get to the lookout, you can look the opposite direction, and there's a big old lake down there called Rimrock Lake, and you can just see a lot of stuff. It's just a neat area.
It was a neat area. I'd like to go back.
Yeah. And honestly, that whole area in the summertime is a fun place to explore. There's campgrounds and remote lakes and things like that. So
yeah, it definitely has entered my interest of camping there during the summer, and eventually making it there in the winter too.
Does the Wobbler go through that area somewhere?
I think it does. But I don't know exactly where.
It goes up north of it because that's where you go into Bethel Ridge.
Well, do you cut through it to get to Bethel Ridge?
So what's south of Highway 12 for the Wobbler?
Packwood. Hold on. I'm going to
do you come on the highway through Packwood?
Yeah, we
went
over
White's Pass. So you get over White's Pass through Highway 12.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up
I'm pulling it
Yeah.
up too.
because
I'm
I
pulling it up.
have Gaia pulled up and or I have the tracks saved. So we go up and where's Highway 12? So
Yeah, you follow Highway 12, and then you
you take Johnson Creek
Rimrock.
Road.
after Rimrock, you jump up to Bethel Ridge. Yeah, so
What's
it
that?
doesn't go through that area.
Is that 20? Is that where that Forest Service Road 20? What's the? Because you look on.
Bethel Ridge Road.
It's Packwood Lake. You said you look down at Rimrock.
It doesn't go through that area. It misses the area we were in, which is a shame. That's a wonderful area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would be a way with the Forest Service roads to make it jump through some Forest Service road to make it through there. Because I see, unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, there's a lot of hiking trails on there because that's along the Pacific Crest Trail. And I see a bunch of hiking trails there.
Yeah, I don't see any Forest Service roads that cut through over White's Pass.
Yeah. But you take 12 up Rimrock, and then you turn off just after the Haas Creek campground to go up into
I see.
Bethel
Yeah.
Ridge.
So in other words, you're on the highway from Packwood over White Pass, and then you'd get off the pass.
Yeah.
That's a
So
bummer.
right in that area, I just found a ridge called Cowpuncher Ridge.
Cow
that's-
puncher.
Yeah. Yep. So that was basically the trip for us. It was a short one, but it was good. It was good to get together.
Shortest and fewest attended snow camping trip. That
Yeah.
means the next one's going to be amazing, though.
Or it's not going to happen. One of the two.
That's it. It's canceled.
No, I need more snow camping in my life, and at this rate, I'm not going to get any this year because I still don't have tires.
Well, you could have
But,
come as passenger.
In whose rig?
Anybody's. Rick would have taken you.
Maybe Rick. Yeah.
Dave would have
So-
taken you.
No, I ended up. I guess I could have mentioned what I did I did instead. I have a group of guys that I meet with on a monthly basis, and we did a map and compass training class. So a lot of fun, good time. I learned some stuff I didn't know. What's that?
I said that's a useful skill.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. We appreciate you guys. It's fun having you in the comments, like we always say. You're great to have in there, asking questions that we may or may not think of, and also making fun of us and pointing out the obvious, like Aaron was supposed to bring the firewood. So appreciate you guys. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends and helping us grow. God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We're a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Offroad Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Brr, I'm still frozen.
It's cold in your